Okay, we're going to talk about something real quick. It's called sensory deprivation. Right. Interesting thing about sensory deprivation is nobody really actually determines what senses are we deprivating. Now, what I found very interesting is getting into the act of exploring, uh, awakening, or even identifying as many senses as you have the sense to accomplish. Um, can be very helpful in these new days and time on this world. Uh, it's like most people think about sensory deprivation as put a blindfold on them and mind fuck them or this, that, and the other. When it could be as simple as, hey, put your hat down over your face and walk out into the sunlight and try not to look up and actually try to take in the, or closing your eyes and just feeling the sunshine on your lids, or actually being like, muffled and captured where if you put your hands over your ears, you still hear just a little bit. But what are different other senses? Oh, you've got taste, you've got touch, you've got feel. And then there are those other senses that they call extrasensory perceptions, not ESP. More like the same thing that causes people to be considered bipolar. Bipolar means that you can only actually feel one of the many parallel senses that cause you to be whom you are. As blessed as all of us could possibly be, there's a portion of sadism in this because you never know what the feel is, unless you're one of those Xers. Dude, this feels really cool in the music and yeah, and all that other stuff. But why would you need anything else to accelerate your senses if you have no idea what senses are? If you had no choice but to be left in darkness with all of your senses, but nothing worked, how would you survive getting backwards and forwards? Not that that's something that you need to actually try as a drill, but I feel that the more that you become aware of your senses, now most people go for the extremes like pain. I love that song. Um, but what's going wrong with so many people is they don't play with the subtle senses, the senses of touch, the senses of feel, the senses of energy. So when you say, are you feeling me? They might really actually be feeling thee. But when you start getting into spirituality and reality and all the other alities and isms and schisms and schisms and yada yada yada, sometimes you have a whole lot of extra time on your hands with your mate or yourself that you really could actually get away with not being committed for getting more fitted into this body we call ourselves. Each emotion is actually driven and connected to our senses as well. So sometimes just the way we feel can make us have a chill. But chill turns into fear, or fear turns into envy, or envy turns into lust, and lust turns into hate. And sometimes people just hate staying in a city because they don't like the sound of sporadic gunshots. But Sometimes people who live in the city need to know how far to gauge the sound of criminal activity. That way, if they need to get out of the city, they know which direction not to go. Not that that actually is something that everyone in the world needs to know. But if everyone in the world knew how better to be prepared to live in any other portion of this world and respect that there is a need to protect themselves by being more aware of their senses. Is that person following me? Do I have a stalker? Or is he just some cracked out way little old school rocker? It doesn't really kind of matter unless you can't scatter your realities into being able to make them not just memories, but you can recall almost all of the memories of your senses. It sounds like a lot to do with your brain. Thusly, in the craft that I play with myself, sensory deprivation is such a broad understanding that I guess I'm demanding that we try to find new and interesting ways of understanding other senses. Yeah. How does it feel when you find someone that you could possibly be able to introduce a way of being able to find an excuse for them to be smarter than they want to be, but to actually embrace more of a reality than most of us have the fear of trying to be, and that's free. But these lifestyles are just something cute to have, but I like to play with every last second, even if they don't like it. Because all change is not supposed to be comfortable, or it wouldn't be change. And then pain is an instinct that actually allows you to understand I'm still alive. At least that part of me is. If you close your eyes, can you still see? If you close your ears, can you still hear? If I'm quiet, am I still speaking? Sometimes it's better to find out if you just may be reeking of other senses that other people aren't ready to actually feel either. And I think for that reason, sometimes we need to actually get more comfortable with being surrounded by other people who have no fucking clue what is going on with their senses when they're walking past you. It's not your job to do. Excuse me, ma'am and sir, I'm just trying to get through. Took my little subby on a little ride. Like doing like 15-20 minute kind of interval, kind of little sneaking things. And for me it kind of helps because I actually get a chance to sadistically play with some higher metaphysical level observations and understandings of a couple and a foundation that's on some higher metaphysical upper level kind of shit. And so it's never just something that I do for kicks, because for some reason I can't even be a rabbit and just do it for tricks, because it seems to fix some of the things that I wasn't even thinking was actually important, let alone existent. And well, sensory deprivation, it's just as interesting of a learning experience for the person who takes someone down that rabbit hole. as it is for the person